Welcome to this conference by Etienne Haan, young French composer. Etienne has been a resident at the Casa de Velázquez, this beautiful place which every year organize residencies for young composers and other artists. And we are glad for the second year to collaborate with Casa de Velázquez. And we invite the young composers who are guest composers at Casa Velázquez. In this case, we have these three invitations with Etienne and also Jonathan Bell and Laura Gianelli. So Etienne has this beautiful piece premiered yesterday by Trio Brauer. And today, maybe he'll talk a little bit about this piece or about other pieces. Is completely up to him. And so Oliver and me, we have to go. We cannot stay, unfortunately, because we have also other things to do for organization. But you are in good hands, as we say in Spanish. I don't know if in English it works, but we let you with Etienne. And I hope you will enjoy. Thank you very much. So Etienne, when you want.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the opportunity and I think to organize the whole festival with the whole context, was courageous. So thank you for that. And the concert of today was
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
I'll very briefly introduce myself, and I have the recording of my piece yesterday. And so we can listen to music, and I think it will define myself a bit more. So I studied first composition in Strasbourg. Actually, I started with trumpet. I did a bit of conducting and stuff like that, but composing in Strasbourg with first Philippe Manoury and Daniel D'Adamo. I met a bit Annette Schlüns and Thierry Blondeau, if you know them. And then I moved to Berlin, and I was with Hans-Peter Kiburtz in the Hochschule für Musik. And I applied for the Casa de Velázquez. So last year I was in Madrid in the Casa de Velázquez. We're gonna start with music. I'm gonna share the score, which is here. Something very important, well, not very, but still, I recorded everything in binaural. So if you have headphones, you have a way better results. So I'm gonna start. See you in 6 minutes and a half. Okay, just shortly. There is nothing really particular, only the granulated bow overpressure, which is a bit unusual. It's some discontinued noise, but randomly. I felt like I wrote that because you can write very complex rhythm, but that was an easy way to, because it's not very important, the rhythm, it's gonna, how it's gonna sound actually. There are something on the lower strings with the nail or with the plectrum. It was with the nail yesterday. Let's go. All right. I'm gonna continue a bit to present myself and what's my how I compose basically. I'm doing a lot of things with actually theater, electronic, um, dance. I'm working with some architects to do some dome. I'm working like I worked lately on some how do you say that court métrage, so some short films, and I have some 3D mics ampliphonic that I can use in several contexts. Also, I'm a more socially or politically committed composer. You will see that I'm gonna show something. And my main interest is really not about material music, like the material himself, but really about the way people are gonna perceive my music. And by people, I really try to write a music that can be listened by people who don't have any knowledge in music. Um, and I'm gonna like because I come from a background with no musicians at all. So basically, my mother or my friends I had, they don't know anything about it. So I just so foreign for them. And so I'm trying to find ways to for my music to be understandable in some way. And so, like for instance, the way that I found from now it's causality. For instance, if you have a state A, and suddenly you have an explosion or something, and you have a destroyed A, or let's say like something, your brain understands that the explosion is like the event that destroyed A. And that's something quite universal. You just have to live in like real life, you know, and understand that you can do that analogy. Then there's timbre in a way, because when you talk, that's what we use. If I say I, o, u, it's the same pitch, but you recognize what I'm saying because it's timbre. Also, you can, in electroacoustic music, you can clearly define if it's a broken glass or water flowing or something. And you have the sensual links with them, and in very different manner. If it's broken glass, it's really, generally it's not a good experience. And when it's water flowing, it's the stereotype is something really calm and peaceful. Um, and I worked actually, I did a piece with ASMR sounds. So if you don't know what it is, actually, it's like there are a lot of those videos on YouTube, but there are some small sounds of plastic recorded just before the microphones or something like that. And people, some of them people can feel like some physical effects of that small sound and also whispering voice. And so like this kind of very sensual material, I used it to do a piece. I'm gonna play an extract. So everything is, you can find it if you want to listen to it like completely, it's on SoundCloud. I'm gonna find the extract. Yeah. The voice is speaking in German. Okay, that's one other parameter. The next parameter is really space, because somehow we're still animals in a way, and we can we are very good hearing on where the sound comes from, and that's something that electronic allows us very good, and that's why I'm using, like, I'm working in binaural now almost all the time, or with several loudspeakers. And even put musicians around the stage. It's really not new, like Boulez and Stockhausen, who composer from the 20s did that, but still, it's still something. Another thing, which is quite old in a way, it's personification. When you give characters to some elements, and Stravinsky did that with Bridge of Spring, I guess. And when you have people, like some elements who look like they are talking to each other, and so, like, you can relate to that. Another one is the objet trouvé. So if suddenly you put a chord, or like major chord or something, suddenly it's something you will recognize because it's very known object. Or the music from the train company in your country or something. Suddenly it's weird to have that in the middle of a contemporary piece. I also have something that I care about is some kind of active and passive listening of the people, of the public. I think it's quite hard to stay concentrated for a long time. At some point, the public in the concert room will think about what he had to buy at the supermarket, or I don't know, anything else. And the goal is to try elements that's gonna put the focus on, again, if the musician suddenly stop playing, even if you're thinking about supermarket, you think, okay, is it the end? And you focus on the stage again. Or if you have some elements, like suddenly, like the end of the trio, suddenly something really basic, really simple, like a pulse, and suddenly you have less info than before. It's a way to focus people and to say, okay, something is going on. And that's something you use, or I use actually, considering the length of the piece. If it's a 6-minute piece, you can expect people to follow more or less. If it's 20 minutes, you have some point at the middle if you have to put less information, so you can grab the attention back and go through, and maybe do that several times. And moreover, trying to write for people without musical background. I wrote popularization show, which I hope I will be able to play it this year. And it's the concept is I'm on stage with 4 musicians, and we are composing this together live, and so show the different option. And through that, composing an 8-minute piece, talking about timbre structure, and do some digression to explain a bit minimal music, talk about harmony and a lot of things like that. But the main goal of this thing, it's to show people that they can actually understand in a way, but it's not the way they thought. Once my mother was saying, yeah, Schoenberg, like it's all messy, and actually she kind of understood the principle, because in tonal music you have this tonality with this center, and it's all around the center. And the purpose of Schoenberg was the opposite, was to crush this idea of center by going on the 12th tones. So she didn't understood that she understood, actually. And that's often the case in contemporary music. You just are in front of an object, and it doesn't sound like usual. That's what you're used to hear. And so you think, okay, I don't understand, but actually you do, but you're just not aware of it. Okay, and then I'm going to talk a bit about more political things. We have the global warming and everything happening, and I think our generation have some kind of duty or something to do about it. The artist has, I think they can have two different purposes. The one is really escape reality, do something beautiful, if it's possible, or with the risk it becomes a product, because that's how it can happen. But actually the main difference for me is like it's the expectation. When you have a product, you have a customer that expects something. And if he is not satisfied, the product is not good. And I think the purpose of this kind of contemporary music is to lead to somewhere totally unexpected. And to have this foreign thing that you have to understand each time, and to, yeah, that's the thing. And also I realized that let's say after the Second World War, composer really had understood how music powerful was in a way to make all armies march together, for instance, or when they were sending the Jews to their death, they would put a string quartet so it will calm them down. And so like music can really have a really strong power in a way. And in most films, like it's the unwritten subtitles, you have the picture of a child and the music tells you if it's sad or if it's gonna be happy or anything. And that's why like the music of the 50s is so abstract. And a lot of time among my studies, I had some reaction that I didn't understood about when I was putting sometimes some tonal chord or something, some rejection effects that had this stuff. And for a long time, I didn't understand it because there is still this legacy of the 50s abstraction in the music. And it really doesn't have to sound like pop music in a way. But sometimes we just don't understand it, like we don't remember it. I thought it was like something, like it was breakthrough, like when I really got it, why and how. And yeah, I'll try to stop talking very soon. Yeah, and last thing about being political. There is something about the artist stereotype that is it's a dreamer somehow, and so he does something beautiful, he means well, but it's like, yeah, I didn't understand. And so like what I really try to avoid is being too abstract, and no, I'm a bit more frontal, let's say it like this. So I try to think that I understood things. Yeah, I mean well, but you can listen to what I'm saying actually, because then you go to the concert, you listen to the piece, you say yeah sure, and you go out. And to leave some prints, I think like we have to be more clear in what we do, and that's like even with the legacy we have from the abstract thing with the 50s, it's something hard sometimes to not to assume, but to. I had a lot of criticism sometimes from my teacher, would say, no, you're too direct, but I want to be that direct because I have a message to share, and I'm not gonna edulcorate. I want this message to be strong. So I'm gonna show like you listen to some extract. I have a short video. I think it should work. The video is for the subtitles because the most voices are in French.
Il y a dans notre pays une une liberté qui est constitutionnellement garantie, qui est la liberté de manifester. Et nous entendons bien la protéger.
Des milliers de blessés, qu'il y a des dizaines de gens qui ont perdu œil, main, etc. Ça n'était jamais arrivé. Ça n'était jamais arrivé devant les blessures que certains décrivent maintenant comme des blessures de guerre. Ce qui se passe en ce moment, c'est le scénario noir. Ça dit que la situation est à un tel niveau de crispation, de durcissement, d'épuisement de part et d'autre, que la réponse doit être politique. Elle doit être politique. Mais c'est aussi le prix d'une politique depuis une quinzaine d'années de broyer les acteurs intermédiaires. À partir du moment où vous avez marché sur les syndicats pendant 15 ou 20 ans, ils n'existent plus.
Ah, c'est pas devant, ça va claquer. Nous allons faire usage de la force. Première sommation.
Ce qui est insupportable en ce moment, depuis un mois et demi, c'est que la justice ne fait son travail que dans un sens. Les médias de masse ne font quasiment leur travail que dans un sens.
Dispersez-vous. Nous allons faire usage de la force.
Pas comprendre comment ce qu'on pouvait voir sur Twitter, sur Facebook, ne se retrouvait pas à minima sur les chaînes d'information.
Okay. That was a bit the Gilets jaunes movement. Yes, and there were 961 acts of excessive use of force by the police. There are 4 people dead, 344 head wounded, 29 people lost an eye, 5 people lost a hand. And I just facts, and so that the piece was about that, to make that public. I was in Germany at the time, and in the media in Germany, you couldn't have any information about it. So I showed it in it was an Aquismonium concert in Berlin. And I'm going to show you a bit about my electronic pieces. I wrote a piece for harp and electronic. The concept was to work a bit about Pandora's myth. So opening a box and you have a lot of musical material going suddenly outside. And I can, so the beginning sounds like this. It just opens the box and you have everything going out. So I'm gonna find the score. So where is this? No, yeah. So you have petafix on some strings to avoid actually the octave you can find on the harp. Aluminium foil on the lowest strings, and you have to pitch 2 tones with quarter tone less. And she can also play on the, I'm going to show you exactly that. Sometimes she plays between the tuning pins and the natural disc. And sometimes she plays directly on the tuning pins. And I have several times in the piece, my patch, it's on max, plays randomly some different sounds I predicted. And so every time you play the piece, actually, every time it's different. And an example for that is so here, bar 61, for sometimes to just play on the tuning pins. And I'm gonna show you, I can show you how it looks like. I have a video somewhere. Okay. So that's a real call, right? And each time playing, you have a sample on that. Etc. And going back to the score. For instance, starting there. And chords are sounding in a transducer in the harp. So you have an octophony, and the whole little sounds are around, and the chords are in the harp. So she plays the chord, and because I put some kind of different untuned, let's say it like that, untuned frequencies, it sounds like the harp is tuned. And this part, for instance, has we also have a real strong visual aspect of it. Okay, about the same part. Sorry. So the main thing I wanted to avoid actually is the electronic, like usually when you think that the electronic is only the result of what the player is doing, the delay effect, you have a play the note, you have a delay, and you understand like almost instantly what's going to happen in like 10 minutes. Also, the big crescendo you have, like that's something very electronic, but it's really easier to do than to have some little details and dynamic gestures. Also, I think the synthesis is you can give an age to synthesis. You can hear some synthesis sound and say, oh, okay, 90s. And I think to work with like all the sounds are coming from the harp, and still like the use of the reverb and stuff like this will like we can date it also, but it's less strong in a way. Yeah, and about this aspect about who comes first, the whole piece is about which one seems to be like the consequence of the other. And I'm gonna play a last example, and then we can talk a bit together. It's the last part. It's quite close to the end. It's actually one thing I was talking about when suddenly you have something stops or with a freeze or silence, and even if people were lost and thinking about the supermarket, you can get them back to what's going on stage. And so you have it's 1:37 probably. You have a bisbigliando on 3 pitches, very low, almost you can almost not hear it. And then you have a huge electronic storm that doesn't affect the player at all. And so you have the conflict between both, and only the third storm is due to the harp player actually. That's it, I would say, and so let's open it to questions. let's discuss. So you have to put on mute on your microphones, and let's go for it.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a question about your way of notation, especially in the harp piece. If I didn't saw the score, I would probably think that you used it very much like senza misura, liberamente. So I was wondering, why did you decided to keep on going on this precise kind of in meter? I'm personally struggling with this because sometimes I'm like thinking, should I use it like senza misura everything, or I should do like this, or like tempo is 60, then it's just seconds, because I find your music is really, as you said, very it have a lot of this on timbre. And about this reaction things, I like very much what you said. This is kind of something what we share as an idea. So I'm just wondering, in this kind of freedom and beautiful free sounds, you're kind of very precise in notation. So I don't know.
Yeah, because I really want it to sound as I want to. And actually, at first I wrote some things for improvisation or thing more free, but it didn't sound as I wanted it to sound. So I wrote everything. I wrote even the end, like when I want the tone to end. And with electronic, it's even more important in that case because there are a lot of little sound files, and they have to be played exactly at the right time and right tempo. So she has she has a pedal, and she has to play with it. But if she plays faster or slower, it just don't fit the electronic anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, also like small technical thing. The harp has already seven pedals. So I built something that's on the electronic pedal. She push it, and the patch wait for like to wait the sound, and when it hears the sound, it just plays the electronic.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I would like to know when you talk about like people who have no musical background and how you want to make music that is understandable for them. I'm wondering like what you mean by understandable. Like, is it for you just as in to understand what's happening in the music, like its structure, or is there also like a part of it that for you relates to affects, emotions, and stuff like that? So yeah.
It has to trigger some imagination in a way. I like the ways I talked about are to give something concrete so you can relate to. And I want the music stay abstract enough so everyone can have his own story about it. And so with the state A and suddenly the explosion, I don't know. For someone, it's the global warming and suddenly we don't have the water or anything. Or for another one, is someone driving a scooter and he runs into a taxi or something. And it has something, doesn't have something to do with emotion, like not in the traditional way. Like in music, in film music, you have a sad music, happy music, angry music, or something like this. And I really don't want to do that. But there's something more, like less culturally constructed, which has to do with the way we just work as human beings. And if we hear some sound of water, of glass, or if we like we build our own story about it without going through this traditional way of experimenting emotions.
Mhm.